everyone, welcome to Jay's Quick Thoughts. So I wanted to go over some thoughts I had about the film slate for next year. Apparently Cinemacon just happened, and they talked about some of the titles going forward. It's mostly remakes and sequels, but there's been a lot of discussion about Disney because Moana 3 has also been announced, even though Moana 2 just happened not long ago. And it's pretty obvious that that film was not meant to be a film originally. It was originally planned as a Moana TV show, but instead of premiering on Disney Plus as it was intended, it got recontextualized into a film. And even though the film was hugely successful for Disney, I can't help but feel like it was just overall kind of bad. A lot of the characters weren't fleshed out the way they probably needed to be, and everything was just really rushed. Honestly, I would have preferred to see what they had intended as a show, but it was lucrative for them to put it on the big screen, so I'm not surprised we're getting Moana 3, but I am disappointed. And since it's coming out so soon after Moana 2, I'm worried that it's going to be rushed again, especially with what happened with Frozen 2, where basically they had ideas, but they didn't actually flesh them out in the script until much later. Like, for example, here, Frozen 2's creators didn't understand the voice calling to Elsa. So basically in Frozen 2, Elsa starts hearing this voice, and it ends up being her call to action pretty much, but they didn't actually know who the voice was. So there was a documentary called Into the Unknown where they talked about how this mysterious voice that Elsa hears was merely an afterthought during most of the production. So it wasn't until much later in development they actually decided definitively what this voice was supposed to be. And in my opinion, that's just not the best way to go about storytelling. But I feel like Disney has a habit of doing this lately. Like, they're more interested in box office returns than the actual art of storytelling. And it has worked out for them in some cases, and that's why we're getting Moana 3, but I worry that they're coasting. You know, Wish was a huge disappointment, and I understand why they would fall back on things that are, safe, basically. But what I worry about is how long they can keep this up. However, people are also upset because there was a planned Tiana series that's been in the works since like 2020, but it recently got canceled like a few weeks ago. So this is from March 4th. Disney cancels Tiana series centered on the Princess and the Frog characters. And not long ago, they redid Splash Mountain to be Princess and the Frog themed, specifically to promote that they are going to use these characters more. I'm not actually sure why they scrapped the series. It just says Walt Disney Studios is axing its plans for the Tiana series. The entertainment giant has scrapped the animation series originally planned to center around characters from Princess and the Frog, people can confirm. Okay, but why though? Though the series has been shelved, the studio is working on a separate short film special inspired by the original movie. Details are still under wraps, but the short will feature all new storytelling, with Joyce Sherry writing and directing alongside Steve Anderson. The move is tied to Disney's shift in animation strategy and its plans to move away from creating long-form streaming content. Okay, I wonder if the Moana series got caught up in that. So, at least we're getting something, but still, I think that a series would have been a lot more fun. Disney has a long history of having cartoons based off of their properties, like Aladdin and Hercules and Rapunzel, and that was what Moana was supposed to be. And I think that we're missing out on a lot of charm because movies can only be so long, so it felt like we couldn't properly flesh out Moana's world, for example, compared to what we could have had with a series. And the same is true for Tiana and the Princess and the Frog, but I'm also not really surprised that they're moving away from long-form content. They have had trouble with the streaming services where they're like losing money and they haven't been profitable for most of its existence. Like here, it says Disney Plus lost 700,000 subscribers from October to December, but Moana 2 lifted all boats in what Disney considers the first quarter of its fiscal 2025. So it seems like they're trying to move back towards theatrical releases, and I wouldn't really mind if their theatrical releases had a little more effort and quality, I guess. Wish, for example, instead of just them coasting on their beloved franchises and IPs, which can also be half-baked because they're just throwing together what was supposed to be a streaming service show into a film. So according to this article, they have had an influx of subscribers, but it looks like they're having trouble with that balance, I guess. It says blame price hikes and the expiration of certain promotions, along with other issues they've had with the streaming service. I do think as a for-profit business, they have to consider the money and the profits. That's just how business works. And I wouldn't have a problem with that if their movies were held to the standards that Disney themselves set. You know, it's been a while since the Disney Renaissance, and honestly, I feel like they've been having more misses than hits. Like, this was the first year in a while that Disney wasn't nominated for the Best Animated Feature category at the Oscars, and historically, they've easily taken that category, but this time around, the closest they got was Inside Out 2, which was Pixar. Long story short, I'm worried the suits are running the creative department. I do think that Disney and these other companies have an uphill battle to climb, because theaters and the theater industry still hasn't recovered from the pandemic, which I talk about in this article here, which was talking about Cinemacon. So it talks about how every studio was basically at this event, but it comes at a time when the domestic box office really stinks, and that's an understatement. Ouch. But also, we've known this has been a problem for a while. At a current year-to-date gross of $1.44 billion stateside, we're 11% behind last year for the period of January to March. We're also roughly $1.4 billion behind the same point in Q1 2018, which had declared $2.8 billion by now. So there's a huge difference between now and before the pandemic. The box office will not hit $10 billion this year, a significant disappointment after last year's industry mantra, survive till 25, and obviously this first quarter was pretty underwhelming, so despite boom times last year with movies like Deadpool and Wolverine, Moana 2, and Wicked, and movies like Barbie in 2023, it's clear that the pre-pandemic audience hasn't returned. The question is, will they ever? So honestly, I'm not sure if Disney hitching their wagon to theatrical releases is the best idea either, considering these numbers of being down 25% overall. You know, it's gonna be an uphill battle, and they do try to give some suggestions on like what they could improve on, like the movie industry as a whole. Like, for example, release dates where they have like 2 horror films coming out pretty much at the same time, or Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon coming out relatively close to each other, even though those are both live action remakes of an animated film, so there would be a lot of competition between those two. And maybe they're doing it on purpose, like Disney and DreamWorks are trying to compete with each other directly, although that didn't work out great for Rise of the Guardians, which is unfortunate because that was honestly a good movie, but yeah, it had a lot going against it at the box office. So we have seen this exact thing happen before, maybe not live action remakes, but you know, like Disney and DreamWorks having a movie come out within a few weeks of each other, and that caused DreamWorks to really falter in that case. So it'd be interesting to see who comes out on top this time around. And the article goes on giving other suggestions and talking about other issues, like the price of buying tickets to begin with being pretty high, along with the movie-going experience overall not really being as satisfying, I guess, as it used to be. The theatrical experience isn't more stunning than in-home. If there's a will to survive, theatrical movie-going must evolve. So basically the long and short of it is that the theaters overall are gonna have to probably innovate and really make it worthwhile to go to the theater, especially for the price, but you know, inflation's been killing us for a while now. So what that says for Disney and other movie studios is probably that things are gonna be still pretty dicey going forward, and we'll have to see if Disney made the right call scrapping their cartoons. Who knows, maybe someday we can get Princess and the Frog 2. I mean, they can probably do more with their princess movies too, like Frozen had multiple shorts like Frozen Fever and the Christmas short, so maybe it can work out for them, but they really need to play their cards right. But yeah, those are my general thoughts overall about the state of Disney going forward. It would be interesting to see how things work out for them. There are some interesting movies coming out: Master of the Universe, The Odyssey, new Hunger Games prequel. That book just dropped, I had to check it out. But yeah, still basically just remakes and sequels. What movie are you most excited to see? Let me know in the comments below, I'd love to hear from you. But with that, I'll see you guys next time. Before I go, I want to give a shout out to our members. members: Tyrant Carnivore, Shiny Orc Boy, Depth Charge Media, Samaru163, Gabby Hime, Verdant Range, JVR, Equestron, Norman Sweetcream, Way Beyond Coincidence, Hunter Rose, 80s Nostalgia Guy, Felix Bam, Lucas Geist, J Draws, Meowsers, Sky, Philip, Isaac Martinez, Garcia XV Legend, Tobias Weller, Bandito Bane, Mac B909, Dakari the Professor, Todd McCaffrey, Omni Fair, General Bolivar, Cavalcoj, Strider Exile, Phil C, Killer Bomb, Slawa Saporiguez, Entwined Boot 301, Griffin of Might, Frankie Camarillo, Datadyne Executive, Crimson Phantom, Jin the Goblin, Papa Hud 69, and the Gengar King. Thank you for the support, and if you want to become a member, you can hit the join button next to the subscribe button. We also have Buy Me Coffee if you want to support us that way. And if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and that part's free. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.